After 4 years of war, the final battle was here. We brought our best to face our enemy. We brought our ships, our people, our ingenuity, our courage. But the Klingons brought something more. They brought Leviathans. The Klingons had unleashed their dreadnought, the D7, and it wreaked havoc upon us. And Karn and his forces were massed to end the fight in the most brutal way possible. And we all knew the very survival of the Federation was at stake. But I was not going to let it end that way. And I was not alone. When we have our backs against the wall, when we are outnumbered and outgunned, when the darkness is about to overwhelm us, that is when what it means to be Starfleet really matters. That is when every one of us stood up and said, it ends here. At Axanar.
Oh, that sends chills up my spine even now.
Yeah, baby.
Hey, I want to welcome everyone for the live stream premiere of Datalus, and I am absolutely thrilled to have my, I'm calling them my rich mad uncles now. It is Dave Lanyon and Gudni Gudnason, absolutely two of my favorite people in the world. Most importantly, because they're unbelievable, fun, great, decent people that I have had the privilege for the last 2 years of meeting. And of course, these are the guys that saved Axanar. So the fact that Axanar is coming out this year and we're getting all this great progress and you're seeing things, it's all because of these two guys. And so, my friends, namaste, and it was wonderful to see you guys. I'm absolutely thrilled that you guys are here for this premiere. How are you guys doing? You guys are up in Toronto together. Gudni usually lives in Japan. Dave lives in the Great White North, soon to be the 51st state.
Oh my God.
And if I had my way, it'd be like the next 10 states. I mean, it should be like 51 through 63, right? You know, you have like 11 or 12 provinces up there.
Exactly. And I was going to say, you know, have you considered being the 11th province? It would be a great deal. Think about your husband.
So how are you guys doing up there? You are up there for your big annual convention session. Tell us a little bit about that, what you guys are doing, because if you don't know, people, Dave and Gudni are the founders of the Modern Mystery School, which is I always say it is, when I'm trying to explain this to someone, I say it's Anthony Robbins with spirituality. That is the way, to me, I look at the Modern Mystery. And not, we're not making a commercial for it, but that's what you guys are doing. So tell us this, right now you're doing what? You've got 600 students up there?
Yeah, so what we do every year in May is we gather, we have basically 2 HQs between Japan and Toronto. And in May, we do kind of our annual conference where everyone comes together. And we talk about everything. We talk about what the next year looks like, what issues people are having, what kind of clarities they need. We do more advanced teachings. We just, it's basically a whole ball of everything that we do hermetically and esoterically to help people out. And Gudni, coming from Japan, he comes over. Gudni's the guy that started all this, and he brings that extra special part to it that tops it all off. He usually goes with the bigger, most deepest teachings that we'd have for students that have been around. You know, we have students that have been around 20 years, 25 years.
And I have to get up and get my, I should have had this ready, but I'm going to get my book here. This is Dave's book, which he sent to me. You are not perfect the way you are, which
it wasn't a personal message, I swear.
It's just for you.
Yeah, that's right. I am not perfect. But anyway, when I read and this is just, we'll end it here, and I'll just say, when I read this, it was like I was reading, you know, Common Sense by Thomas Paine or the teachings of Ben Franklin, or it's like I said, it's wisdom is basically what it is. It's just classic wisdom. I mean, you know, and which I loved. It was just, anyway, enough of that. I wanted to make sure we talked a little bit about what you guys do. But we have 91 people here. We are going to be at 7:15. We're going to be launching Datalus. So this project, which is a short film, which is 5 minutes, and I love when people say give us crap about making 15-minute episodes. They say you can't tell a story in 15 minutes, and I say, really? Did you see the Vulcan scene? That was 3 minutes, and that was absolutely a story.
Yeah.
And here, what we did with Datalus was Dave Lanyon, who was a donor previously. I had just reached out to him. I went through my big, I have a folder with some big donors, and I just went back. I said, time to thank everyone. And I sent out thank you emails, and Dave responded back, and we were talking, and Dave helped us. This is in January of 2023. We had just finished really one of our big shoots where we got a lot of actors in the can, and it was really exciting. And Dave gave us, I think he gave us $5,000 for that shoot, or $10,000. I forgot what it was, but it really helped us out a ton because we did that shoot really inexpensively. And we were talking, and as anyone knows who's been following us since the beginning, it's been a struggle because basically Paramount and CBS sued us and basically bankrupted us, and we moved across the country to a cheaper location, and I've been putting everything, all my personal money went into keeping the studio open and making it. And it was a struggle, and it was going to be an even bigger struggle. And Dave just said to me, how much is it going to take to finish this? And I was like, it's probably $125,000, $135,000. And Dave was like, okay, I'll cover that. Now, I don't know. There are only about 3 unbelievable moments in my life. Winning the NCAA championship at USC, winning the national championship when I was coaching my juniors team, and that. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. Because no one has been that way. No one in this whole journey has been that magnanimous with us. We've had great people like Larry at OWC who took care of the studio the first year. And, we've had great people, but that was just, it was life-changing. And not only was it life-changing for me, but what Dave and Gudni, because of course, Gudni's a huge Star Trek fan too. So Dave goes, hey, Gudni,
Yeah.
we're going to come on in. We're going to come in, the water's fine. Yeah. And so I have had for the past 2 years, the absolute privilege of working with these two gentlemen. So they came over for the October 2023 shoot was going to be our last big shoot. And they both came down, unfortunately, at different times. But Gudni had said to me, like 2 weeks before that shoot, he goes, are you shooting me? He goes, I'm in Axanar, right? And I was like, no, it's all set. It's all these but he got me thinking, and I'm going, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if we could get Dave and Gudni into something? Yes. And so I literally in a day wrote Datalus because we've been working on this whole idea of Datalus class possible reshoots. I said, they both need to be admirals. And we're going to do that. And so we put it together, which you are all about to see here shortly. And both of these guys came in, and I can't tell you, we also had Linda Alexander, the biographer of Steve Einat, and we had Sally Marshall, a widow of Steve Einat, who I know, Gudni, you got to meet them. I'm not sure if David got to meet them.
I did, yeah.
Who are, they are, I always say they're the heart and soul of this production. So that shoot was absolutely magical. And I'm going to start with Gudni and give me your feedback of what it was like, because you were both joys to have on set. Let me tell you. Tell us what it was like for you, Gudni, to be on set at the studio.
Well, today is my birthday, by the way.
Yes. Happy birthday.
67.
Really? Oh, okay.
And to tell you about that first day, I have to go back 60 years. Growing up in Iceland, we had no television, no networking at all. And then the American base came, and we got U.S. television. And so 7 years old, I'm sitting 7 years old, I'm sitting on the floor watching Star Trek. And that's, And my mom came in. My mom told me this later. Mom came in once and said, "What are you watching?" She had never seen any sci-fi movies or anything, and Iceland no TV, and I pointed at the TV and said, "Home." Home. So coming to Atlanta to do this with you was like, I mean, a childhood dream come true. It's like, shit, I still can't believe it. It's just totally amazing. And your team, oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked on movie productions and never seen a team like this. This was
Yeah.
like a dream team, production team.
Because of passion, because they were all passionate about it, right?
Yep.
Especially, my core team, our core team of Mark and Jeff and Dana. They've been at it so long, and so yeah. So and they appreciated your comments too, Gudni, because I told them all that you said it was as good as any team in Hollywood, and they all walked away with smiles on their face.
Yeah.
So Gudni you were there for maybe 2 days, I think, and then you flew out and Dave flew in, and that was
crisscrossed for like 2 hours.
Dave, give us what was it like for you?
Well, unlike Gudni, I don't have a background in this, so you know this, but for those watching, I got in for 2 reasons. Because I love Star Trek and I saw this amazing thing and I couldn't believe that it wasn't being produced by, CBS. I couldn't believe that it was this independent thing that was happening. And secondly, as I've said before, I read your story. I looked up all the information. I like to think I have a little bit of discernment. And I was like, this seems like just an injustice. And it seems like this man is getting stomped into the ground because he embarrassed some people because he just did his job really well. And I was like, if I can make a difference, I'm going to. And that's what happened. So when I showed up on the set, I'm being very honest when I said it. I originally showed up to back you up, as weird as that sounds. But when I got there and I met this incredible team and how well they spoke of you, and that speaks well of you, brother, that they care about you. They really believe in you. And that says the kind of person that you are. Standing on the bridge, the set of the bridge. And you said, well, sometimes people get emotional. And I was like, I'm not getting emotional. I don't cry. Just dust in my eye. Because it was just, so that whole thing to me was just, it took me literally days to sort of realize that it had happened. And your team, I just remember, I'm a guy with a lot of curiosity, asking everyone how they did their job and how every single thing worked. And the absolute geekdom of them in their capacity. Like, this is how the sound works, and this is how we run the cameras. And I was just like totally fascinated. And these guys were just, it was amazing. It was you made everything wonderful. Your whole team was great. I enjoyed it all. That's the God's honest truth. It was just an amazing experience.
I managed to hide my, I cried. I stood there and I cried. And then I backed into that turbo lift.
Whenever you cry, you back into the turbo lift. That's what you do.
Now I'm just checking things out in here.
Oh gosh. Well, okay. So we're gonna show everyone this little film here. I know, and saying our film, I say it in the sense that we have this amazing team. We had for the first time Josh Irwin was involved, who does the Avalon Universe things, and Chris Lee over in the UK, who has his own YouTube channel, directed it and did all the visual effects. So it cobbled together a lot of different people who put this together, and we're just I'm thrilled with it. There's some really amazing stuff in here. So let me get it up, and let me get it on the screen here.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry. All right, one sec. Oh, there it is. And Okay. Hold on. Let me share it.
Okay.
This is a galaxy-wide transmission of the United Federation of Planets. The United Federation of Planets Historical Society, in conjunction with Memory Alpha, presents the Datalus class hospital ship refit.
The Romulan War, the seminal event in the creation of the Federation as we know it. And at the forefront of that conflict, the Datalus class starship.
The X-class Warp 5 ship was the most famous class of ship in the war. The Enterprise's adventures under Captain Archer had made that ship an icon.
Well, as war was approaching with the Romulans, Earth needed to build starships, quickly, and in great numbers.
The Datalus was designed to fill a variety of roles. Heavily shielded and hardened against the Romulan hacking of 10 years earlier, what it lacked in speed, it made up for in flexibility and survivability.
So 80 years later, when the war with the Klingon Empire broke out, it was the logical choice to refit for hospital ships, which were desperately needed.
Well, just like the Liberty ships of the Second World War, the Daedalus class ship was mothballed rather than scrapped. Our top technical personnel worked with the Starfleet Corps of Engineers. They put in every piece of equipment that our medical team could use. And after the refit, well, the ship had better capabilities than that of a small starbase.
Our ships have the most advanced medical facilities anywhere in the known universe.
Well, once the specs were finalized, it took less than 60 days to get the first refit launched. After that, we were launching a refit Daedalus every week. A year into the war, we ran out of hulls.
Vulcan, Andorian, human, Telluride, whatever race was coming towards us, our staff was ready to handle them.
The hospital ships were probably the greatest unsung heroes of the war.
Our crew was even ready to work on the Klingons.
And while our medical teams made up the bulk of the crew, we had Starfleet personnel manning the ships.
Many of us were disappointed to be serving on hospital ships. We wanted to be on the front lines, serving as the tip of the spear.
And by Axanar, our crews didn't just sit back and wait to receive casualties.
So we dove right in to everything but the fiercest parts of the battle, beaming out casualties and saving the lives of thousands of crew members that otherwise would have been lost.
No one wanted to be just an ambulance driver. We were Starfleet. We needed to make a difference.
So we created our own tactics to save more lives. And that often meant doing things that were somewhat unconventional.
We did a lot of things those ships were never supposed to be able to do, but it was about saving lives.
By the end of the war, over 100,000 Starfleet crew and Federation citizens had been treated on a Daedalus-class hospital ship.
Between the lives the hospital ships saved and the dedication of the Starfleet crews, the revitalization of the Datalus class became as important to the war effort as the introduction of the Ares class.
And so, the hospital ship USS Lanyon took its place next to the USS Daedalus and the NX-01 Enterprise at the Starfleet Museum.
Not all the legends that war created were warriors.
All right.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, you guys did great. You guys did great. I was really happy. I love that. I thought it was a great little film. It tells a story that's important. And we tied that into Axanar as well.
Right.
You know, and all these fan films like Interlude, for example, was a great one. That Interlude basically came from the opening pages of the Axanar full-length feature film script. Jonathan Lane read that and said, you know, when we had to write Tony Todd out of and Ramirez out of the script, I came up with this idea that, he was critically injured in this ambush. And it was, which basically, if you're a military historian, that is the story of the U.S. shooting down Admiral Yamamoto in World War II.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Basically, we had broken the Japanese code. We knew he was going to be flying alone he was going to be flying in a plane, and they sent out 2 P-38s to intercept him. All respect to one of the greatest admirals in history, Admiral Yamamoto. So, but I was like, yeah, that's a great story. So let's transfer that to Axanar.
Yeah.
And the Daedalus class hospital refits are, as we say in there, an homage to the Liberty ships, which the U.S. built like over 1,000 of during World War II. It was some crazy number, which were the cargo ships that plowed the Atlantic route. And so yeah. So it's fun to play in this universe in any, you know, in all different ways, right? As you guys as being executive producers or acting or what have you. So I think we can do more of these little.
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know, from where you were when you started, and I'm sure there'll be another many podcasts to go over this, and to where you are today, even your own curve of knowing how to do it and the things where you don't need to spend time, where you do need to spend time. I mean, yeah, experience teaches us everything, right?
Absolutely. Listen, we have learned so much. Matter of fact, I'm about to do a video. We filmed one video about like the 5 biggest myths about Axanar, but I'm working on another video that I wrote. I'm starting to write the script for, and it was the 10 biggest mistakes I've made in Axanar.
Oh, very cool.
You know, yeah. And so it's like, here's the things I screwed up over 10 years. Because I think that's important. I think that goes along with the lines of your, you guys are great in your teaching, says the self-reflection and being able to go, where did I mess up? Listen to people.
Yeah.
Listen to understand. Okay. Yeah, I got it. And then modify things and improve yourself. So, because we're not perfect, right?
Right. Exactly. And in that process, if I were to say, if you were speaking to CBS, or I don't know if it's Skydance, who knows where we are anymore, I would say this is the kind of expertise you need for fan engagement. You need someone with that kind of experience and that know-how. And there really should be, you and I have talked about this before, there should almost be a diplomatic branch that applies to these big IPs that says we have people that specialize just in fan engagement. We go out, we talk about things, we listen, we explain, and from that process, not only do you learn, but you also teach the fans why things are happening a certain way. It gives gives the fans more insight as to, oh, okay, I didn't think about that sort of thing. You've educated me about making film in ways, I mean, I didn't know any of this, and it's like, so yeah.
Yeah, and we're listening. Hopefully, we're always learning until the day we die. Yeah. And I know, I mean, just the whole process of that we're in right now of compositing that Dana is just doing this amazing work on is just we're learning so much, and at the same time we're honing our process for the future. Mark and I had a discussion since Axanar. So you have a whole bunch of actors who were shot on the bridge on our bridge set. And then you have a whole bunch of actors who were shot on green screen. One of the things we're talking about is like, okay, so what's the balance there? How much do you want to shoot practically and how much do you want to shoot on green screen? because practically limits you to your sets that you have. Unfortunately, we have this amazing bridge set, but green screen allows you to put them anywhere you want. Like I released some of the you guys have seen the video of the Klingon backgrounds that Dana has done for our Klingons, and oh my God, they're just stunning. They're so beautiful. So yeah, but we're learning, and one of the things is I've been talking with Josh and with Chris is like, how fast can we do one of these little 5-minute films? Like how much effort does it really, because the shooting, I think the shooting on the bridge is the way to go with these, because both of you, let's see, Dave, you were shot on green screen.
Right.
You were shot on the bridge. Yeah. But outside of Mark Grove and I guess Dana, who were shot on green screen, the others were shot on the bridge, and that shot of Admiral Kovalenko on the bridge is so amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And so when we were shooting that one, I told you guys this, when we were shooting her on the bridge, I said, this looks too good not to have this in Axanar. So I said, take 20, everyone. And I ran out and I wrote a line down and I gave it back, came back in. And I said, memorize this. And she's a pro. She's a pro. And she did. And that's now in Axanar. And that's a little story snippet that ties Daedalus in with Axanar.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about that. What let me
just tell you, when we filmed on the bridge, for me it was a terrifying moment. Terrifying, because first I was just excited. I mean, just sitting in a chair, it's like, oh yeah. But then I was looking around, and all the different Star Trek stuff, DS9, Next Gen, all of it started melting together in my mind. And I just said, wait, what is going on? I was like, I was a Kermit. Oh my God. And then, he came, sat down, and they, okay. But it took a while,
Yeah, it's. I mean, listen, it's the same way for me because I'm not a professional actor. It takes you a while to understand what acting is all about. Richard Hatch always told us in acting class that the first acting school he ever went to in Malibu, California, there was a sign at the front door to the theater, and it said "No acting allowed."
Yeah.
Because it is when actors talk about honesty and truth, what they're saying is that if you're trying to pretend to be something, that's not truth. Yep. It's finding it within yourself, what it is. And it was great is like both, and Gudni is what I loved about you is, which we don't have enough of, is that because you have a little bit of an accent, it comes off, it places the universe, it makes the universe broader, right? We don't all sound alike. Yeah. Like, oh, yeah, that's right. It's a united Earth 300 years from now. Yeah. So the guy speaks it, people said to me when Tony Todd said he couldn't say Inverness. He said Inverness. And some people a couple of people would comment about that to me. And I said, so maybe where he comes from, that's the way they pronounce it. It's all, who says he's American? Who says he should have an American accent? Maybe he was born in Ghana. I don't know.
Right.
So that was
a colony on Mars to the right.
Yeah. What? Over this process now that, and we're if you haven't been following the video updates, and I hope you will, if you're out there, follow the video updates because we just posted one with some new information. We will be releasing this year. We episode 4 is coming along nicely. We dropped in the music. We're just getting the latest visual effects, the finished visual effects, which are really awesome. So that we're still trying to shoot for summertime on episode 4, and then episode 5 is probably more like the early fall. But everything's coming along. Over these past 2 years, I'll throw this to Dave first. What has been the thing you've enjoyed most about the process over the last 2 years?
Oh, wow. You know, it really comes down to, because I love learning things. So it comes down to learning all the steps, and you've really been the teacher of that to me, all the steps of how to make that come together. We just watched Datalus. It's beautiful. I mean, it's seamless. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And when something's done really well, it looks easy. You know, you see a gymnast do 10 flips and you go, easy. Yeah, it looks easy. Well, easy is normally because of you've got a mastery behind it. And
Right.
It's been learning, you know, with you walking through, you know, you don't understand. We have to do this composite thing, and then there's a rotoscoping thing. We have to do a color, and there's a sound, and it's like, oh, all those things matter. There's things that do this. There's some things I didn't even know they existed. I'm like, that has to happen. So for me, it's the learning process of all of it, and knowing, because I've already seen what the end product could look like, knowing where we're going, and so it's like learning the steps to that sort of perfection of the art that's been the most interesting to me.
Yeah, and we've been on that journey together because you know, I've been learning stuff and you know, well, we just got the rotoscoping back this morning of the Andorian Trask, and it's flawless. It's just flawless. It's great. Yeah. So Gudni, how about you? Because you've been over in Japan. Gudni and I will about once a month. Gudni says, "Hey, can you talk?" And we FaceTime each other and talk about everything and compare notes on, because Gudni's got a film, and tell us about your film, which is the Magical Pond? Is that
Mysterious Pond?
Yeah.
Mysterious Pond.
Mysterious Pond. Yeah, I finished that last September. I directed and fun project, and finally done with all the editing and almost finished. So that's going to be launched this summer. But with Axanar, with this project, with Axanar and everything, the funnest, the most interesting thing. So after Dave called me and linked us up, I think through Facebook. No,
we did a messenger thing first, and then did a group
I've
thing.
been an executive producer for a lot of projects and movies, several movies and TV shows in Japan and stuff. Never has the producer of that responded to me like you did. It was like right after he put like our phone numbers or something together in a message, and boom, you send me a message, and I'm like, who is this guy? You know. And like a couple of days later, we were talking, you and I were FaceTime. And this has been like this constant since. And it was like after just a couple of phone calls talking with you, it was like, yeah, I was telling people how a friend of mine over in Atlanta was making a Star Trek fan movie, which already felt like, you know.
Yeah.
So I was the most, and when I came, it was like, hey, you know, even though first time I met you, it was still like, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's not. I know it's not your forte. This is Star Trek, and we're the spiritual stuff guys to joke around. But there is something, whether you want to call it kismet or just weird connective tissue that happens with people sometimes. It's just sort of like this field that sits there, and I think everyone would understand it. They might call it something else, but there was a connection there, a piece that's like, we can do this together. We can make this work. Like you can feel it's pulling together. So yeah. And it was just there. It just felt like each step felt like it was the right step to take, because that just seemed like, well, that's supposed to happen. So we do that. So yeah, when I got to Atlanta, it just felt like everything was supposed to be exactly the way it was. It's supposed to be like
usually producers I work with, you know, they're like the Ferengi, you know, they and you were like nothing, like you were Captain Kirk, you know, you were nothing like that, you know.
Well, and Dave, to what Dave just said, to what Gudni said, yeah, absolutely. It felt like right away we were kindred souls there. Absolutely. And for a lot of reasons, right? It's one, we all love Star Trek.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
right. So we have this common ground that we all exist on. And two, I think is, so there's that. Two, we have this great project Axanar, which obviously, Prelude to Axanar was such a success. So we can look back and say, okay, we did create something great. Let's create it again. So there's a certain amount of experience. My dad always says past performance indicates future performance. And then Dave, you were the one who kind of spotted the struggle and latched onto the struggle and said, I can help solve this problem. And the fact that you two are both Star Trek fans, you wrote Gudni in. So there was a lot of different things. And then listen, I should mention to everyone out there that Dave and Gudni also are big backers of Axanar Animal Rescue, because we rescue cats and sometimes dogs down here in Atlanta. And both of you guys have been huge supporters of that. I know Gudni does that in Tokyo, and Dave does charity, some amazing charity work up in Toronto. So it speaks to me. It's not only do we have the business things, the Axanar things, the Star Trek things, but you're both just dynamite people who, I'm honored to know and consider friends. So it's yeah. Thank you guys. You guys are wonderful. I mean, and so there's all these different things, and ultimately that's what creates this amazing relationship that we all have. And listen, it took me a while to get used to having executive producers, right? In the past, I've had 15,000 donors. So you send out monthly updates once in a while and you get, well, now it's like, oh no, wait a second. This is different. I've got to pay a lot more attention. I've got to really treat them like partners, or I've got to make them part of a film. So they feel like we, know what that aspect is like. So it's been a learning process here. And so the education goes both ways, right? We're all learning. And so hopefully by the end of this year, when we get out of Axanar, and hopefully Skydance, looks favorably upon us and, pats us on the back. Let's hope. Let's hope we can move into a totally new world, together and do something, even more amazing. As I've said to everyone here, we want to do another project, and I've kind of come around to the fact that I really want to do the Romulan Wars, because I don't think Star Trek is ever going to do that, right. And I think we're in the perfect position to do just that, to do something like Axanar for the Romulan Wars. I would love to get the original cast back, and if we had Skydance saying that's an interesting project, then it would be really, fun. That would be a fun project. So we'll see. By the way, I want to tell Dave, I've just been telling everyone, if you go to the Axanar store, we're giving 25% off. You use the discount code Datalus. I put it in the comments before. Discount code Datalus is good to the end of the month. It's 25% off most of this stuff there. So that's a thank you for coming out and sharing this with us. But go ahead, Dave. What you were going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, what's the timeline difference between Axanar and the Romulan War? What in the Star Trek canon?
So in the Star Trek canon, the Romulan Wars were in the 2150s, late 2150s, because the Federation was formed in 2161. Maybe Alex Rosenzweig, who just joined us, will remind me. I think the Federation was 2161. And then Axanar is 2245. And TOS Star Trek is 2265-66. So basically, Axanar is 20 years before Kirk takes over the Enterprise.
Right.
And Prelude, the documentary we're doing, Axanar, Prelude, The Gathering Storm, and Crucible, those are basically supposed to take place 10 years after the war is over. So it's kind of like the 10-year, they're going back as a 10-year retrospective, and that's why they're in cage era costumes. That makes sense. I would love to do something. I'm sorry?
Did you write the script already?
No, for Romulan Wars, no. As a matter of fact, they had 2 books they came out with maybe 15 years ago that were set. They were set in the Enterprise era, and they were called Enterprise, and it was Beneath the Raptor's Wing, and there was 2 of them.
I remember, yeah.
And so I read them, and they were interesting.
Yeah.
But I'd love to revisit that. There have been a couple fan films. I think there've been 2 fan films about the Romulan War that are, they're both interesting. But I think we could do it in just a way that, just like Axanar, so many people consider Axanar canon these days.
Oh yeah,
of course. But if we do this, we as the executive producer, we have a strong suggestion for your script. So in the flaw, I shouldn't say this. You're all going to kill me, but it's the flaw with Next Generation. Is that Earth has no TV anymore.
Yeah, what's the matter with that?
There's no TV entertainment.
No one watches the screen?
Yeah. So it's like, is it on TV? No, there's no TV anymore. We abandoned that kind of entertainment 300 years ago. Captain Kirk, Captain Jean-Luc says.
Yeah. He does. Yeah.
We need the Romulans to at least have TV.
Yeah, Romulan TV. And we'll be on the sitcom that they all love to watch.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Mike says, elaborate what you. I would love to get a couple. What I'm saying is, if we do a Romulan War show, kind of like Axanar, then the people we're interviewing, I would love to have some of the original cast members. I think Dominic Keating and Connor Trenier would be awesome. Linda Park. John Billingsley, I've had a conversation with John Billingsley. He's a just awesome human being. I just love John to death. And I only spent about 45 minutes on a video with him. But yeah, I get some of those guys back and integrate them with others. I don't think you'll never get Jolene back, and I doubt you get Scott Bakula back, but you never know. Listen,
you never know.
It's worth dreaming about, right? And thinking about. Okay, so for you guys, tell us what you see in here for Axanar for the rest of the year. What are your hopes for Axanar as we come out? What does it mean to you? What do you hope we can accomplish? Give us the spiritual guidance here, guys.
I'll, if I don't may.
Yeah.
2 things I would like to say. I would just like to. It's something that I just like to see completed in the sense of for the fans. Something that's been sitting there, and okay. You don't want to pay attention to the haters, but you also want to show them that, hey, you may have misjudged this. And here you go. So there's that part of delivering Axanar. And the other part sounds weird again, but it's the vindication of following your dream and doing it well. That, you put enough effort in and you believe and you get the right people around you and you can make your dreams come true. So to me, that's that it says so that process is Star Trek. That's the future. That's the bright future we look for. So completing it, but in the fact it got completed, you're talking that it is Star Trek. That's what it's all about.
I totally agree.
I think there's Yeah, because I think there's a story here that beyond beyond Axanar, the film we produced, there's a story of all of us, right? For the past, wherever we came in on the train that is Axanar, whether it was back in 2010 when I got the first idea for it, for naming this script Axanar, on up through everything we did in Prelude and the struggle with the lawsuit and moving across the country and fighting COVID and fighting this and that. I think that there is a story there with a lot of interesting people and a lot of interesting players. And some, like Mark Edward Lewis, have been with me since the beginning, or Bing Bailey, or I think there's a story there that's worth telling on its own, like The Making of Axanar, a documentary. So last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Paul in, who is Commodore Stern. Hey, Paul, you're muted right now. Now, Paul is a longtime volunteer. He's been volunteering with us since the beginning. Paul, this is David Goody. Paul is always there whenever we have a shoot or whenever we have a project or we need to sweep the floors or whatever. Paul's there buying us Chick-fil-A and running errands. Paul also is adopted one of our rescue dogs back in 2000. Wow. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so he named Artemis, and his daughter also, Lauren, who's now at University of Fairbanks, is it?
Yeah, University of Alaska, Fairbanks.
Fairbanks. His daughter was in Interlude, and was she in Icarus Maneuver?
Yeah, she was in Icarus Maneuver. She's like coming out of the turbo lift at the very end.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Right. Yeah. So Paul and his whole family are part of the Axanar team. Yeah. Paul, when did you join us, Paul? Were you there the first weekend we unloaded trucks?
Oh yeah. I think actually. So I started following it. I think it was 2014 at Dragon Con. It's funny because I think I found one of the pictures from that and I sent it to you a while back. But yeah, when you announced that you were coming out here, I was like, hey, this is hometown for me. So, anything I can do to help. I was one of the backers, not on Prelude, but on the Axanar. And so, I was more than happy to add, sweat equity to it. Something I really thought was a great project and, really wanted to be a part of.
And I have to say, and this is the great thing about Axanar, why when Norman Lau said 10 years ago Axanar is a movement, when we showed up in Atlanta after the lawsuit, it could have been us throwing everything into 3 tractor trailers and driving it across the US and unloading it into a facility a third of the size that we had in LA. It could have been us with our tail between our legs meekly going into Atlanta, but we showed up and we had 30 people helping unload those 3 tractor trailers. Where it took all week long to load them in LA, we unloaded 3 tractor trailers, all those sets, in a day, and it was unbelievable. We had Scott and the guys who were professionals here in town who showed up. We had people like Paul and Dana and others show up, and everyone just pitched in, and boom, we unloaded those, like one truck after another, unload. We had a forklift, and it was amazing, and it was so heartwarming. It was such a wonderful welcome for us. And I think, in the latest update that I posted, I had to post a comment finally. And my comment was, if you're going to whine about how long Axanar is taken, don't. All right? You don't appreciate the fact that we got sued by 2 major studios. We had to bring everything across the country. We had to finish that set. Then we had, this disastrous shoot where the director lost the footage and then filed a fraudulent copyright. Then we had COVID. I said, so if you're going to complain about how long it's taken, you didn't go through any of that, so shut up. I finally had to say that because I was like, I'm sick of hearing about it.
Yeah.
Because they don't necessarily appreciate the journey, but it is the fact that we have, and I keep saying it, it's not just Dave and Gudni, it's Paul who, and it's Dale Simpson who was, Dale, who was a 20-year military vet and a sheriff's deputy, who spent 21 years in the sheriff's deputy office. And we have Russ Patterson. And we have all these amazing people, like people who you want to go to war with, literally. Yeah. Like that, if I'm in a foxhole, these are the people that I want watching my back. And these are the people who have committed to Axanar and said, hey, this project is important that we finish it. And I think ultimately, that's the tale that we need to tell in this documentary is the quality of the people that have said, we're not giving up on this project. It's too important to Star Trek. So Paul, tell me your favorite memory of your now, what, 7.5 years with Axanar.
Oh God. There are a lot. I mean, actually, it would probably be sitting there listening to JG just go on when we were at the elementary school, because he is just one of those genuinely funny and honest people. And because they were sitting there signing calendars, and he was giving Lauren a hard time, and she gave it right back to him. And there was a quick second of him looking at him like, okay, game on. And just that I think there's so many people there that day. That was such a busy day. I know D&D was doing all the behind the scenes stuff, and just everybody working their tails off to make something happen, and bringing the J cakes. I think that was fun. Because I had just been in New Jersey, and I think I brought them from Jersey.
If you don't know, people, we this production has an affinity for Drake's Cakes, which is like
Drake's Cakes. Drake's Cakes are the best. Oh my God,
Drake's are the best. I grew up on them. They've clogged my arteries more than any other food substance. and Paul always brings them to the set, which is great. JG, and by the way, we all had JG. We had JG down. Courtesy of Dave, flew JG down, and to do the A Night Before Christmas on the bridge in a Santa suit, which we have not released, and I've explained it to a bunch of people, but it's finished, but we didn't release it because JG was worried about CBS, and because CBS has been playing dirty with actors and not telling them don't work with Axanar. So we're waiting till Skydance comes in because we feel they'll be a lot more positively disposed towards us. And so hopefully we'll be releasing that this year, which is just a lot of fun. It was that was a fun shoot, putting JG in the Santa suit.
General Martog is Santa? How could that be?
It was Martog boss. He was awesome. So, well, it's good. Dave and Gudni, I know I want to thank you guys for taking the time out. Is there any, and we need to do this again. We'll do obviously we'll do it when we have hopefully we'll do it in person when we release Axanar episode 4. And Mark says he'll have a new cut up this weekend. So if you guys can find 15 minutes this weekend to watch the new cut of Axanar. Just for everyone out there in TV land and YouTube land, please watch the latest, the May Axanar video update here on YouTube, because that'll give you all the information about what's going on and when we're releasing, which is up in the air. We're trying to make sure we do it right. There's just, after 11 years, there's no reason not to make it perfect. And so there you go. And just make sure you're part. Oh, by the way, make sure you are subscribed to the Axanar Newsletter down there. That's the best way to get information, because we'll send out emails and let you know what's happening, what updates we're posting, when they're posting on our website. Also, I will also direct you to the Axanar just to the Axanar website, where we have all sorts of great information. Lee Questenberry, who is our webmaster, and I have been working on it pretty hard for the past couple weeks. And if you, I'm going to share that with everyone right now. Let's see. Let me show. Hold on. I'm going to share this with you so you can see. So this is our website, and if you go here to our website, you can see at here we put all the new fan films are right below Prelude and the Vulcan scene, so they're right at your fingertips. Also, if you go up here, we've just redone the About Axanar section. You'll see the Axanar team here, which we hope you will enjoy. Get to know everyone. This is a little. Everyone has a Funko Pop there. There's our team. And then if you go, also we have the producers page here, which of course Dave and Gudni are at the top of. There's Dave. About the guys, and these are our producers. So also you'll find the Axanar store here. Up in the corner, you go Axanar store, so you'll be able to buy all the cool Axanar swag. Again, if you use Datalus, you get 25% off. Make sure you spell Datalus right. We are also doing you as a Funko Pop. We will generate you as a Funko Pop for $15, which goes towards the Axanar Animal Rescue. And the last thing is follow the Axanar Animal Rescue up here in the upper right-hand corner. You can follow all of our work saving cats, and we have some great cats for adoption if you're interested. And the latest, as a matter of fact, McCall, who Gudni helped save through emergency surgery, is doing great. It's just got spayed yesterday. So there are times when I Dave and Gudni have just stepped up for emergency surgery on some of our cats, and we thank you guys so much for that, because it's great work. They need us. They do need us. They do need us. So there you go. Any parting words, David? I'm going to let Paul go first because I haven't let him talk. Any parting words, Paul? Or you've seen the rough cuts, right?
Oh yeah, they're absolutely incredible. And even in the rough cuts before the effects get thrown in there, you just get drawn into it. And that's the sign to me that it's a good story. That you're just. And I think when both episodes are released, it's just going to be well received, and expectations are going to be exceeded.
Thank you, David. Good. What you've both been seeing? What are your thoughts on the rough cuts? Tell the fans who have not seen the rough cuts out there your thoughts.
Amazing,
awesome. Yeah. You're gonna love it. Everything that was said to you about Axanar will be taken to a level beyond what you expected.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm watching it and going, wow.
Yeah.
And we just Mark Edward Lewis just sent me the music for the credits. He's like, you need to listen to music for the credits. I'm like, okay, I'll listen to the music for the credits. And oh my God, it was like a real score. Like, I'm like, that is so cinematic,
music in Star Trek is, you don't realize it until you're in this process how important it is.
Yes.
Like the difference it can make, and you realize, all those movies, all those things, it was the music that helped move the emotion to, like, you're like, oh, here comes this big moment, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. That's so true. That is so true. So, all right. Well, listen, everyone, we want to thank everyone for spending the last hour with us. I'm gonna play Datalus again. Let's watch it again, and then we'll sign off. All right? How's that?
Alec. Final words. So all of you, I don't have to say any final words to all of you guys. You're awesome. We're the family. But to the haters, see you in Hollywood, bitches.
There you go. And on that, let's watch Datalus again. Here we go. Let me get this up and
This is a galaxy-wide transmission of the United Federation of Planets. The United Federation of Planets Historical Society, in conjunction with Memory Alpha, presents the Datalus class hospital ship refit.
The Romulan War, the seminal event in the creation of the Federation as we know it. And at the forefront of that conflict, the Daedalus class starship.
The X-class Warp 5 ship was the most famous class of ship in the war. The Enterprise's adventures under Captain Archer had made that ship an icon.
Well, as war was approaching with the Romulans, Earth needed to build starships. And
The Datalus was designed to fill a variety of roles. Heavily shielded and hardened against the Romulan hacking of 10 years earlier, what it lacked in speed, it made up for in flexibility and survivability.
so 80 years later, when the war with the Klingon Empire broke out, it was the logical choice to refit for hospital ships, which were desperately needed.
Well, just like the Liberty ships of the Second World War, the Daedalus class ship was mothballed rather than scrapped. Our top technical personnel worked with the Starfleet Corps of Engineers. They put in every piece of equipment that our medical team could use. And after the refit, well, the ship had better capabilities than that of a small starbase.
Our ships have the most advanced medical facilities anywhere in the known universe.
Well, once the specs were finalized, it took less than 60 days to get the first refit launched. After that, we were launching a refit Daedalus every week. A year into the war, we ran out of hulls.
Vulcan, Andorian, human, Telluride, whatever race was coming towards us, our staff was ready to handle them.
The hospital ships were probably the greatest unsung heroes of the war.
Our crew was even ready to work on the Klingons.
And while our medical teams made up the bulk of the crew, we had Starfleet personnel manning the ships.
Many of us were disappointed to be serving on hospital ships. We wanted to be on the front lines, serving as the tip of the spear.
And by Axanar, our crews didn't just sit back and wait to receive casualties.
So we dove right in to everything but the fiercest parts of the battle, beaming out casualties and saving the lives of thousands of crew members that otherwise would have been lost.
No one wanted to be just an ambulance driver. We were Starfleet. We needed to make a difference.
So we created our own tactics to save more lives, and that often meant doing things that were somewhat unconventional.
We did a lot of things those ships were never supposed to be able to do, but it was about saving lives.
By the end of the war, over 100,000 Starfleet crew and Federation citizens had been treated on a Daedalus-class hospital ship.
Between the lives the hospital ships saved and the dedication of the Starfleet crews, the revitalization of the Datalus class became as important to the war effort as the introduction of the Ares class.
And so, the hospital ship USS Lanyon took its place next to the USS Daedalus and the NX-01 Enterprise at the Starfleet Museum.
Not all the legends that war created were warriors.
Well, there you guys go.
There we go. We're back.
You're back. We're back. So, yeah, listen. I obviously, is when you're a filmmaker, you watch these things over and over and over. And every time I watch this little 5-minute film, I go, "Yeah, that was really good." You know,
Yeah.
it tells a really good story. Everyone was great. There's no bad acting in this thing. Everyone, was believable. Everyone was different. Everyone had their little piece to tell in the story. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I'm glad you guys were too. and I'm glad you guys were part of it. So we will have to do it again. We're going to have to get both of you guys at the studio at the same time sometime.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, to do something. Let us not forget, as you guys are conquering the world, let's not forget to stop and have fun, especially Star Trek. And Paul, great to see you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming by. And to everyone, this is not on YouTube officially yet because there are a couple changes that have to be made before we can launch it. That Josh is taking care of. There are a couple typos in the credits. There was one thing that we have to put a Star Trek fan film production under the title there at the end. A couple things. So those are all going to happen, and then we will be launching it on YouTube. But in the meantime, it's going to be available on our website, so you can watch it there. And to everyone in the audience, I see all the regulars there. Dale Simpson stopped by. John Tesler stopped by. I saw Ray Myers is there. Jay from all you regulars. It's so good of you guys to come here. Again, go to the Axanar store. Use the discount code Datalus for 25% off. And our Patreon campaign. I just told Larry from OWC Computing, who's one of our big benefactors over the past 10 years, and I told him, as I told Dave and Gudni, just throw $2 down a month or $5 down and join the Patreon campaign, because every other day I'm posting stuff, behind the scenes stuff that no one else is seeing, and I'm posting it just for the Patreon donors. So it's the best way to keep updated. I asked Dave and Gudni to join just so I didn't have to keep emailing them the stuff that I was posting every other day on the Patreon campaign. So please do that. Any final thoughts before we all leave? Dave, Gudni, up in Toronto, behind that amazing model of the Defiant.
Yeah.
We're in front of that. Oh my God, that model just I love that.
Beautiful.
It is gorgeous.
I would just like to say, and especially to someone like Paul, everyone pulls in their own way, in the way they can. And Alec, you're the driver for sure. And it takes a team that really cares and wants to get the vision to go through. And we've gotten some attention because we were able to bring certain resources to it. But I want to know everyone who's ever contributed and just stood beside you. You have my thanks. You have my acknowledgement for all your efforts. We all do the part that we can, but if everyone pulls together, that's what makes the dreams happen.
Yep.
That's it. And I've said it before, when I was coaching volleyball, we always called volleyball the perfect team sport, because you needed at least two people to get a ball over the net. You could not do it by yourself. But filmmaking is an entirely different. You talk about team. Unless you're doing all the work by yourself, which is you're not making a real film, a big time film. If you're doing that, you're doing it on your iPhone. It's a team effort, and we just have such an amazing team. I cannot tell you how hard Dana and Mark are working right now on Axanar. It's just crazy, and whenever Dana asks me to go on over and look at stuff, I do. And so if you guys know Dana, send him a thank you for all the hard work he's doing, because he's just doing an amazing job producing. I feel bad that we can't show you the Moreau stuff, the Klingon Moreau yet, because it is so good. It is like the first time we saw it, Crystal and I we were in bed when we just turned it on just to watch Moreau for the first time, and we started giggling. It was so good. We're like, holy crap, we can't believe how good this is. And him with Richard going back and forth. I cannot wait to see the fan reaction when everyone sees this stuff. So it is good, and that's it. All right. Well, listen, thank you, everyone. I'm going to let David Gudni go. You guys, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Paul is also say hi to Lauren for us. Make sure you give Artemis a hug for us. And we will all see you. I think this coming week We're going to have Axanar Confidential on Friday night, so make sure you start getting used to those again. We're going to start ramping up the live streams again because there's just lots of opportunity to do lots of cool stuff here. And Gudni and Dave, man, Gudni, happy birthday. I hope Dave takes you out and gives you a good meal. And please enjoy it. And thank you guys so much. This is so awesome. It is, as Dave once said, it's not a dream come true because I couldn't have dreamed this. And that's the way I feel about all of us working together. So thank you guys. Everyone out there, we're going to leave you with the Axanar teaser trailer and then sign off. So take care. Thank you so much.
After 4 years of war, the final battle was here. We brought our best to face our enemy. We brought our ships, our people, our ingenuity, our courage. But the Klingons brought something more. They brought Leviathans. The Klingons had unleashed their dreadnought, the D7, and it wreaked havoc upon us. And Karn and his forces were massed to end the fight in the most brutal way possible. And we all knew the very survival of the Federation was at stake. But I was not going to let it end that way. And I was not alone. When we have our backs against the wall, when we are outnumbered and outgunned, when the darkness is about to overwhelm us, that is when what it means to be Starfleet really matters. That is when every one of us stood up and said, it ends here. At Axanar.